Hey everyone, welcome back to Financial Freedom by 40. I'm Kelly and I am here answering your questions today. So, one of the questions that we get a bit, and it was one that I had quite recently when I put out a post asking what people would like to know about what we do. And that is, how have we managed building a multi-million dollar property portfolio while raising a young family? So, to give you a bit of a background to our story, so we started building our property portfolio when our eldest son was a baby. So, we had decided, sort of in probably maybe 18 months before he was born, we did the property apprentice course and learned all about investing in property. So, we decided that we were going to commit to building a rental property portfolio. And we did the training and then started looking for houses. And so at that time, we were both working full time and didn't have a lot of time on our hands. But when I went on maternity leave, we kind of hit it full blast with looking for houses. So prior to our son being born, we had started to look. And then after he was born, I put a lot of my time into finding our first rental and then renovating and building a portfolio. So we continued to build our portfolio over a few years. So basically over the time that our boys were really, really little. So our first property we bought when our eldest son was about 3 months old. And the most recent one we bought when our youngest son was about a month old. So over a period of about 3 years. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment, but I wanted to talk to you about sort of the process of sort of what we did buying those houses and then moving over to sort of the ongoing maintenance of the portfolio and how we've managed that with a family. I think there's kind of two key elements to it. So the one part that is just the practical stuff, managing, doing all of the looking for houses, renovating houses, running a business while you have a really young family and some of the logistics around that. And then the other side that I know people are interested in is the financial side. So obviously, when you're raising a family, sometimes the income can be a bit lumpy in the household when you've got people, taking parental leave and, maybe working part-time jobs and that kind of thing. So sort of how that side works. So to answer the first question, in terms of how we manage the logistics of it. So for us, we both worked corporate jobs. And so having the flexibility of me having some time off when the kids were little did give me a bit more time on my hands to be able to put the effort into, researching properties, looking for properties, going to open homes and doing all of the, due diligence and that around buying houses. So definitely having one of us not working did make a huge difference to our time to be able to put into that. So in terms of managing it all with babies and little kids. So to start off with, when we had just the one, I would take him around to lots of open homes, have my front pack on and carrying him around to all the open homes and viewings and just driving all around town looking at houses with a little baby. Often, I did put a lot of time. I kind of treated it like a job. So I knew that maternity leave would only have a certain sort of period of time to it for me. So that I needed to really make the most of that period of time. So I really did throw myself all in. So it kind of wasn't at all like having a year off. I kind of felt like that was my job during that period of time, as well as looking after baby, of course. So he just tagged along with me, made a lot of phone calls in his nap times, did a lot of the paperwork in his nap times, and then often I'd be up in the middle of the night doing feeds and that kind of thing, and like emailing real estate agents and those kind of things. And then in terms of the renovations and that kind of thing, realistically, to start off with, in that first year that we bought that he was a baby, and we also bought two houses, we had to realize that we had some limitations around our ability to do things. And so Ryan was continuing to work full time, and we bought that first year, I'm trying to think, I think 3 properties. So the first one that we bought was pretty much ready to go. It had a few minor things that needed to be done to it, but we didn't have to spend a lot of effort renovating it. The things that did need doing, there was a little bit of gardening, a little bit of things like hanging curtains and those kind of things. And those were the kind of things that I could do with him there. So I'd take him with me, have him in the pushchair. And aside from that, for me that time around, it was just a couple of little things like liaising with an electrician to get extractor fans installed and that kind of thing. So then the second one, we did have to do a little bit of a renovation on that one. So that was something that we managed to do with Ryan doing work in the weekends on it over a few weeks. Again, we had baby at site with us, so doing a little bit of stuff that we were able to do with him there, like the gardening and the hanging of the curtains and those kind of things. But it was fairly limited as to what I could do with having him on site. And again, in that instance, we did have a bit of painting and that kind of thing that needed to be done, and so we did get people in to do that work. Just being realistic about what we could do, and then as time's gone on, I think probably the hardest one we did was there were two. So we did two big projects. So one we did in 2014, sorry, which was we bought two houses on the same site. So they're separate titles, but a cross-lease site with we bought the two houses together at the same time. And they were both major do-ups. So we had set aside a period of, I think, 6 weeks. Ryan basically used all of his annual leave that year and took off a month of leave to do the renovations. And at that time, Ollie was about 1, I think. He would have been 1. So we knew that we found that property, we got it under contract, and we knew it was going to be a really, really big push with a baby to be able to manage all of that. We knew we would both, to get it done, to make the numbers work, we didn't really have the option on that deal to have tradies come in. So we knew to make it work that both of us would have to be there on site, doing the work as much of the time as possible, basically Monday to Friday for that month. And then beyond that, we knew that we'd have to do, well, potentially, our goal was to get it done as much as possible in that month while Ryan was on leave. And then beyond that, we'd only have weekends really, and anything that I would be able to do with him, with baby with me, or if I could get help. So the only way that was possible for us to do that renovation was that we had family support and friends. There was just really no other way we could have done it. So when we knew we had it under contract, and that, well, once we went unconditional, we basically just printed out a calendar for that sort of 6-week period or 2-month period approximately. And we put everything in there. We had one of the tenants wanted to move out and then move back in. So we had a move-in date for them that went on the calendar. We had a really tight time frame, so we had to be really, really organized. We got the kitchen, we had to replace the kitchen. So they had the only tradies we used for that was we had a kitchen company to come in and install the kitchens. We had flooring done. We had flooring put in towards the end. So we had to have that booked in. I mean, it's really hard to get contractors, so you have to get those dates booked in. So we had to work to those dates. And then we had a friend who's an electrician who helped us out. So there was a bit of flexibility around that. So very kindly helped us do the wiring up for the extractor fans and those kind of things, so that we could get that done on the weekends. Apart from, so how we managed that, basically we had our calendar, we had all our tradie dates put in, we just had to push and push and push and push. Thankfully, Ryan had leave. I mean, some days he was there from like actually dawn or, before, right up till really, really late at night. Obviously, I couldn't be there with baby, but wherever we could. So in the weekends, we had wonderful grandparents who took him and had sleepovers so that we could both work really hard till late. During the week, I was really fortunate to have friends and aunties who were really, really great at taking him, so that we could both put in as much time as possible. So we had to sort of beg, borrow, steal, call in favors, anything we could do to get the help. And then, we got towards the end of the period when it was really close to the tenants moving in date, and we weren't there. We hadn't made it. And again, it was on the phone to all of our family and friends saying, is anybody able to help us this weekend? We just had to pull out all the stops to finish the work that needed to be done to get the house ready. And then the second one that was really, really hard. I should add too, we found out partway through that 2-house renovation that I was pregnant with our second son. So funny story, but that sort of added to the whole thing of that. Most of that 6-week period, I felt like I wanted to throw up the whole time. So that didn't help anything. The second one that was really, really hard was that kind of we decided to buy another two property deal, and we settled that when our second son was only about 2 weeks old. He was pretty small, and that was really hard. And that house was also not in the town we live in, so that property. So two houses, fairly minor renovations, but having a newborn baby and a toddler and your husband staying at the rental in another town was really hard. So it's just always been a juggle. We've just had to make it work. Our determination to make these things happen, and to achieve our goal of financial freedom has just been so strong that we've just really just made it work. Then as time's gone on, as the boys have got older, we've had lots of renovations between tenancies. We've had a couple of situations where houses have been trashed. We've just had to just do those things. Again, we've brought upon family help. One of the things that I kind of think is kind of a funny thing, we had a porta kit as part of our kit, like our renovation kit included a porta cot, sorry. So we had a porta cot and a pushchair. We had often had babies napping while we were painting, or whatever, or helping us. And as the kids have gotten older, they often do come to us to help. They like to get their paintbrush out and do a bit of painting, painting a fence or something like that. They're really good at negotiating a good deal for themselves in terms of pocket money, or something to get a bit of payoff for their help. But they're pretty good now that they're a little bit older. Again, where there's stuff where it's just not easy, with spray painting in particular, it's pretty hard to have them on site. We did try and do a spray paint job with kids on site and ended up with paint all over the backyard of one of our rentals. So those bigger jobs, again, it's just about being organized enough to book in the childcare, book in help, to get those jobs done, getting family members, friends, grandparents, anyone who's willing to help out with the kids to make it happen. I think that probably covers off sort of how we've done it in terms of a practical sense with the kids. It's never easy. It's always about juggling things, trying to fit things in to make it work, trying to avoid doing things, renovations if we can at all, avoid doing it during school holidays. That just, that blows the week out. So makes it a lot harder if you've got the children around all day long, to try and make that happen. So the other side, the financial side. So I mentioned this in the post that I did about this, but I thought I'd just talk about it because it, give a bit more detail. So managing the financial side as a family, it's been a roller coaster in all honesty. So when we started the journey, we had, no, at that stage, double income, no kids. And so, we had a number in terms of what we could borrow. In the lead up to having our first child, we set up, we were renovating our first home. So we knew we wanted to get that done before he was born, for practical reasons, but also because we were trying to get it done just to get a revaluation done on our house so that we were able to put in place our deposit fund. So like a lot of people, we have a revolving credit against our personal home that we use for a deposit and renovation fund. And so by getting our renovations done before Oliver was born, we were able to, get our lending in place, get our overdraft in place before I went on maternity leave. So we pushed to do that, and we completed our renovations, a few months maybe before he was born, and had the revaluation done then. We people sort of, I did a post previously about this, and people sort of said, oh, well, it's easier if you've got a 6-figure income. And it definitely does make it easier. So we were really intentional as younger people, because we didn't come from families with a lot of money, about setting ourselves up with jobs where we did have really good incomes. So a lot of the time, through our journey of buying houses, that the income that we've relied upon has been the Ryan's income. And depending on what's going on in the market at the time, we've been able to get lending and we've not been able to get lending. So it really has been a roller coaster ride. We've had times when, so we got to a point where we couldn't get any more lending. I went back to work part-time. That still didn't quite get us across the line to get us the amount of lending that we wanted. So I went back to full-time work. And when we were both working full-time, we had the income to get the lending, but then absolutely no free time to do anything else. Like it was just survival mode to work. The kids were full-time in daycare. And yeah, so while we had the income to get the lending, we didn't have the time to actually do anything with it. We were looking at houses, but we just were so maxed out with everything else going on. Still the day-to-day of running a business and having to do those extra renovations, but the idea of just throwing in any extra work was just really too much to take. So on and off again, since then we decided that I would stop working full-time. I went back to part-time work and then contracting work, on and off over the last 5 years or so. And yeah, as I say, it has been a bit of a roller coaster. There've been times when we've had lending, the ability to get lending. We've had times when we haven't, and that's really, really just been dependent on what the rules are with banks and the everything that's going on financially. So yeah, it is the financial thing can be hard at the moment. We can't get lending because we don't have enough income over the whole combination of the portfolio and our personal incomes to be able to service any more lending. So it's hard. It's not easy. I would say one of the things that we've learned over the years, and that we do want to change about our portfolio, is that we changed our strategy partway through. So initially when we started our portfolio, and because we built it quite quickly, our focus was on retirement. At that stage, we hadn't, at the very beginning, we weren't focused on building cash flow for the now. We had thought, look, we have jobs we like. We want to, we're quite happy to continue working for the foreseeable future, but we know that we want to set ourselves up really well for retirement. So we had a long-term strategy, and we bought properties to sort of working with that strategy. When we got to the point where we realized we wanted to start adding more cash flow properties outside of the main centers, more regional properties, to get the cash flow up. That was the point at which we when we realized we wanted to do that, was sort of coincided with a period when we couldn't get lending. And then we had that, period where we thought, well, let's add to it while I was working. But again, we just didn't have the time to do that. So we do need to restructure our portfolio now that we've changed our position on what we want to do. So now that we know that we want to get the cash flow sooner, we know we have to restructure our property portfolio, but that's come at a time when the market's not great for selling. So if we sell now, we would have to take a bit of a loss compared to what we would have been able to achieve on the properties a couple of years ago. So we're in a position to hold for now. So we're going to continue to hold and just see where things go over the next 12 months or so with the property market. But we are definitely keen to restructure things and be able to keep moving so that we can get the actual portfolio income back up, so that the personal income is not quite such a huge factor. So hopefully that is helpful. I can give a bit more detail on video than I can do on the Instagram or whatever. I will put that out there. I might do a blog post as well to share with you, just so that you get all of the nitty-gritty details if you prefer to see it that way. So hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free just to flick me a comment or send me a message on socials. I'm happy do another video or do a post to answer questions. And of course, bear in mind that this is just us sharing our personal journey. There's nothing about this that I want you to take as financial advice for yourself. Of course, if you are looking at getting into property, it's a really great idea to get some coaching or get some financial advice from someone who is qualified to give you that advice. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you again soon.